Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Hearthstone. Another live stream. Today is May the 8th and stupidly in the last recording I played as the wrong character and we've made no progress whatsoever, so I need to hurry and hopefully get some extra wins. We're supposed to have played as the rogue and I ended up playing as the druid, so that was almost a complete total waste. Talked about a few things, maybe not, probably didn't talk about them very well. Having an after effect of being sick and having a cold is, my ear is full of earwax and it's causing pressure on my ear and pressure on my teeth. So talking oddly is becoming a problem, and I'm gonna try and fix that after the stream. I'm also having trouble playing Assassin's Creed Brotherhood because I'm just having a lot of trouble getting into that game. I'm at the beginning of sequence 4 and I did the Da Vinci is Missing DLC. And in a lot of ways, I think the Da Vinci is Missing DLC was a distraction. And there's several other distractions that I'm running into, most certainly. Give a random friendly minion +1/+1. There we go. So yeah, on top of having trouble getting into the story and just getting everything done in a quick experience, I'm also killing my finger holding down the high visibility right trigger button, which you can't change, it turns out, on. So let's see. What do I want to do here? Well, I guess this guy will survive. So I'll do that. So yeah, the main problem is I'm running around Rome in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and getting from point A to point B. It seems like it is the vast majority of the gameplay. It's not actually doing things. It's just walking to things. And this gets compounded when a good third, maybe a sixth of the game involves just tailing people and walking around. So it's instead of the normal run and dash abilities that you normally would expect in the video game, it's something more. It's just a slow experience. There's one victory, so we can start making progress. I can't believe I went 30 minutes and got one victory and didn't realize that didn't pop up. It's a little early for me. We can see at 1:09. Also on the stream, I scheduled it so I was looking at the scheduling with live streams, and you can do it in 30-minute increments, which means if I was like 1:01 right now and I wanted to schedule something, I would have to say I'll start streaming at 1:30, and I guess I technically could start earlier and irritate people, but I think the system heavily kind of encourages you just by default to start later. So I started it like 10 minutes early, scheduled it, and as far as I saw, nobody could have seen that at all. It didn't make an announcement on any of my feeds that I had scheduled it, and then when I went live, it did announce that. So So if I was going to use the schedule thing, I suppose I could do it for like 12:30 every 3 days, and then people would have this very, very rough estimate, and I might as well do it at like noon every 3 days of when I'm gonna go live, but that would be such an incredibly rough estimate. There are some features in it where you could say it's postponed or something like that, but or there's technical difficulties or similar, but I guess I want to do this or this. Let's go ahead and do this. But it's very possible I might start streaming at like 5 in the evening, 6 in the evening, and be 6 hours late on them. So I'm not sure scheduling is really right for me because I can't stay to a schedule. Dead Island 2 is, we'll start moving into the news here, is still alive according to Deep Silver. They insist it's true, even though we've had no news about Dead Island 2 for over a year, which, remember, this is Deep Silver is making Dead Island 2, not Techland, who, like, Deep Silver owned the license to Dead Island, but they had Techland make the game, and then Techland got kind of kicked off making any of the further Dead Island spin-offs because there's been Dead Island Riptide, and I think there's another Dead Island game too, and they've all been awful. And so then Techland made Dying Light, which is the spiritual successor to Dead Island 1 and runs pretty well, and improves upon the idea quite a bit. So I don't think very many people are holding their breath anyways for Dead Island 2. Well, you definitely shouldn't be if you are. But it would be slightly interesting to see it come out. I think you hear in TV and movie development hell, I would assume that's the similar situation for Dead Island 2, is that they've got probably several third-party companies that they're working with that aren't meeting goals or getting the game to run properly, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's 100% the case. Let's see. Put this out here. Attack and attack. And then speaking of delays, the co-op first-person shooter called Overkill's The Walking Dead, it has been delayed again now to the second half of 2018, and that game was supposed to come out in 2016 apparently. Now, a co-op first-person shooter based in the Walking Dead universe doesn't sound like The Walking Dead to me. That being said, I don't know how much I really know about The Walking Dead because the TV series isn't like the comic book. I hear the comic book is a lot better, so there's definitely some possibility there that the video game might be off the comic book. It does point to the fact that even though the Telltale games are kind of getting old hat and their engine is really in need of an overhaul, at the very least Telltale turns out games quickly. But also I think a first-person shooter for the Walking Dead series is a bad idea in the first place. Like, there's so many other first-person first-person shooter zombie games out there. Why specifically would you want?
I'm warning you. I'm unstable. I'm warning you.
Why would you specifically want it to be in the Walking Dead universe? What is added there? If anything, why not, if you're just trying to get a zombie license, why not just get the zombie license of, what is it? What's the name of that movie series? Night of the Zombies, Attack of the Living Dead. I forgot the name of it. Well, there's several movies series that you think you probably could get the license for, or you could just make your own. And I don't know what any movie series or TV series actually adds to the zombie myth that changes anything. Like, it honestly seems like nothing would change.
Justice is mine.
Here we go. Moving on, since I can't really think at all on that, it's like, by the time they get that game out, I wouldn't be surprised if The Walking Dead as a TV series has been canceled, because that's the way it seems like they're going. I haven't watched that TV series in a long time. After basically the first season, when they fired all the writers and replaced them, I lost interest, and I know they have that Fear the Walking Dead series as a spinoff, but I don't think anybody's really watching that either. I don't think enough people are watching it. The idea that TBS was going to become this really good and necessary cable channel, kind of like an HBO, was laughable. And I know TBS has the Into the Badlands series, and I enjoyed that, but that's 2, maybe 3 series that they can do per season, and then they have to take breaks in between that. Just not enough content. Same is true for like FX and FX2 even. They thought they could make enough shows to get people's attention, but they really don't have enough. So I need to get Druid victories now, and with the overlap, hopefully this will fix things. Unfortunately, I only have 1 Druid deck, so we'll just play this in Wild. Moving on to the next story, the Nintendo PlayStation prototype is now working, although I kind of question how much it's working really, since no games were ever made for it. So they're trying to get it to get the hardware to run around a emulator programmed CD-ROM. So it's very possible in my mind that if there was a bug in the programming of the CD-ROM, that you might accidentally consider that a bug in the hardware, and then adjust the hardware to run in ways that it shouldn't. That being said, I mean, it really doesn't matter one way or another. It's much ado about nothing that you figured out how to get some piece of hardware nobody will ever have, or it has no real actual relevance. It's just this historical thing that doesn't really mean or do anything. But I mean, people are interested in it, and it was made working by the Ben Heck Show, which they do some interesting high-level programming and hardware work that I've just recently started to watch, as I've been getting more and more into that. And kind of ironically, though, they've this year decided to only do 3 projects, and each of those 3 projects seem like they're not incredibly as complicated as things they've done in the past. Let's see, 5-5. Play this with stealth.
Job's done.
An Outlast 2 patch came out to make games easier on normal, which I guess people will appreciate that. I will appreciate that if I ever get around to playing Outlast as a series. Certainly. What did I just do? Why did I lose my card? Like,
Greetings, traveler.
2 mana to gain an empty mana crystal. Oof, that's not what I expected that card to do.
For the wilds.
We'll go ahead and give him
My
a greetings. Oculus Story is a company that won an Emmy from a short film in VR called Henry, which I think Henry was a gerbil or something. It looked like a little furry creature in the picture at least. And now they're shutting down. So there's the power of the Emmy right there. And the power of the Oculus also. It's like, you certainly can't help but notice that that was far from successful, and I'm not really surprised. Even right now, if they had made this video Henry for like the PlayStation VR, I still think your audience is going to be so terribly small that it's never going to make the money back that you spend on it. So far too ambitious. I still am very much I'm growingly of the opinion that these types of games in VR is not going to succeed, and it was really just all hype. Speaking of all hype, Pokemon Red and Green, it looks like the Japanese version. Halo 1 Combat Evolved, it wasn't called Halo 1, it was just called Halo Combat Evolved. Donkey Kong, looks like it's the intro version, Vision version. And Street Fighter 2 for the Super NES version, it looks like, are all being added to the Video Game Hall of Fame, which is in Rochester, New York. And frankly, I'm not sure it's that much of a Hall of Fame as it is just kind of a museum. Like, that's the weird thing there is anybody could make a Hall of Fame. It's not until you really have a lot of credibility that it starts to make sense. Like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in a lot of ways has more credibility probably than it should if I was just to guess and talk outside my own head, or my own field of knowledge. There's a lot of
Malfurion versus Jaina.
I don't think to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame you have to do much more than pay an entry fee. The stars on the boardwalk in front of the Chinese Theater in California is probably a better example of that, because I know for a fact you just have to pay money for that, and so you can just win if you want. Now, I don't think the Video Game Hall of Fame that Nintendo would specifically pick these games, or the Video Game Hall of Fame would specifically pick Pokemon Red and Green, Halo, Donkey Kong, and Street Fighter to be added for no reason. Each of these games actually do have some significant historical impact. If it wasn't for Pokemon Red and Green, there would be no long-running Pokemon series or hugely popular merchandise tie-in. If it wasn't for Halo 1, the Xbox original would not have probably gotten popular at all if it wasn't for Donkey Kong in general and its many versions that it was released on, because that was licensed to everything in the first generation of video game consoles before it came just even to the NES. So that certainly was the beginning of good games in general. Let's see. As far as video games, before Donkey Kong, most of the games were not worth playing. And then Street Fighter II certainly has its own historical impact, in which it was very big in arcades and was the beginning of the fighting genre. Although I guess Street Fighter 1 and probably many games before that. I do have a comment on the stream. We have a new person. I'm not... The Voucher, I think is his name. He posts first with a smiley face, although I would point out technically I am first because I always post to my streams at the beginning. But he is the first actual fan, I would say, to comment, so I won't take it away from him.
Job's done.
Let's see. We already talked about how Blizzard's Hearthstone's Chinese site basically confirmed what we already knew about the drop rates on Hearthstone. There's a Bob Ross skin coming out in Smite, and that's an interesting one in itself because I don't know if that's a legal parody or just an odd licensing choice. If you're gonna have Bob Ross by his name, and he's, I don't know if you can fully make the parody argument just to show him doing the thing he's famous for. Is that really a parody? Is it a parody if you had Martin Luther King get up and give his "I Have a Dream" speech? Or is that just a reanimation of something that he actually did? I would think when you get down the parody law, you would have to have some kind of joke or implication or action that is unlikely or unlikely to believe the actual actions to it. So I would say the Bob Ross skin is probably an odd licensing choice. And of course he's a meme, and I know that's why you would do something like that, but it seems like a strange choice in general. Like, the last thing I want to do is see a bunch of Bob Ross skins showing up in games. See, here's the weird part. We are now halfway through the news, and so I'm not sure how this is going to go for the next 30 minutes of recording, because I kind of need to get this done unless I can succeed massively really well.
I must remain hidden to remain free.
Let's see. Do this. Do this.
Job's done.
In the turn. Maker Studios, which is owned by Disney, is now wrapped up in more curated YouTube network. Reportedly, they laid off 80 people in the backlash over buying Maker Studios just to get PewDiePie, and then the Wall Street Journal attacked PewDiePie, and then they fired or ended their contract with them. A lot of the bigger people were with Maker Studios, and I don't know why the bigger people are specifically with any partner on YouTube at all, but maybe there was some kind of content ID protection or something that Maker Studios was actually able to deal with. I know I just got an email from Content ID telling me that my dispute has been reviewed, and anytime I see that, that means that they rejected it and nobody reviewed it. Nobody looked at it. They have a computer programmed to wait 30 days and then reject it. That's exactly what it is. And they're specifically having it wait the 30 days when it's about to run out, and by default I should win a Content ID dispute. That way, all the money that's collected in those 30 days goes to them. And as far as I understand it, that's exactly how the system works. That if I put out something live today, and then I dispute it for 30 days, and then they reject it on the 30th day, they get all the money. And if I try to appeal that rejection, I don't think I get any of that money still. So, as far as I understand it, it is a great scam for them. And I don't think there's anything too much I can do about it, or anybody can do about it, until YouTube stops being a pain in the butt and kowtowing to things like this. Honestly, the whole monetization issue is stacked against us and YouTube creators in such a terrible way. It should just be that they should have to sue under the actual laws of the DMCA to have things taken down, and if they can prove damages in that lawsuit, that's the only way a company could recoup any money, instead of this Content ID system, which just allows people to blatantly steal money from YouTube creators
For the wild.
with no proof or no fair system to defend yourself. Speaking of no proof and no fair system, though, a Bethesda executive says we didn't have much of a choice as far as defending the Prey trademark for the game Pray to the Gods. This is of course total BS, because the choice is the fact that they shouldn't have had a trademark for the word pray in the first place. So the way the trademark system works in the United States is you're basically granted a trademark whether you deserve one or not, no matter what, and then people have to challenge it and try to break the trademark that you were given, even though you were probably very oftentimes are improperly granted trademarks in the first place. The way the trademark system works is they just look at all previous trademarks and say, well, if you're not violating any of the previous trademarks we granted, even though they may be improperly granted, you're fine. And so the word pray, P-R-E-Y, any four-letter word alone is probably shouldn't be trademarkable. It should probably, by default, be two words. So if it was Bethesda's Prey, and then I could see them getting a copyright and trademark for that, and they still have copyright, so I shouldn't have even mentioned that, because that's not even the same system. But if it was Bethesda's Prey that they got a trademark for, that would make sense. That's two big words, well, one big word and one four-letter word together. And it in no way is confused for Pray for the Gods, P-R-E-Y, for the gods, or which is a good pun, and it should be so far away from the one word pray anyways that they shouldn't have done it. And let's not forget for a second that the only reason why this new game that Bethesda has just released is called Prey is because they already had the copyright and the trademark for it. So they literally released this game knowing that they were just defending a trademark for something that they didn't deserve to have in the first place. And at the end of the day, the truth is they did have a choice, and their choice should have been the right choice, which is to say, we're not going to defend this trademark because we didn't deserve to have it in the first place. It's basically the found wallet argument, which is an argument I'm going to make up right now. If you found a wallet and it had $1,000 in it, certainly people of lesser morals would say, well, that $1,000 is ours. But then if the person whose ID you also saw on the wallet shows up and says, hey, that's my wallet, can you please give it back? Very few people are going to make the argument that no, I'm not giving it back, it's mine, I earned it, I found it fair and square. It's the finders keepers argument with trademarks. Is like, they basically found the wallet of $1,000 in the trademark of prey that they never should have had, and they got lucky to have it. And then when somebody who has a legitimate claim to that word tries to use it, they're saying, nope, it's mine, keep finders keepers. That being said, when you think about the found wallet argument, a lot of people will find justifications for any amount of money in a wallet. If you find a wallet and it has $1 in it, some people will make the argument that they deserve that dollar. If you find a wallet and it has $10 in it, people will make arguments in that way. If you find a wallet and it has $100, $1,000, $1 million, all of those amounts, there's always a justification. There's no sweet amount in which you can guarantee somebody won't keep the money, except for $0. But then people will probably just keep the wallet too. So the lesson there is, don't lose your wallet, and trademark companies shouldn't, the trademark office shouldn't hand out trademarks for such small names. It's ridiculous when you think about some of the companies' names. Apple. There have been apples in existence for thousands of years. The word apple has been used ridiculously. McDonald's, on the other hand, there's probably been last names of McDonald's, but that kind of makes sense because of the way it works. That being said, I bet there's a decent amount of McDonald's restaurants out there that aren't owned by McDonald's even, because it's just such a general last name. We should have made up names. We should have crazy tech based names where, like, Hearthstone is another word. It's a longer word, but it's a word that has existed. Should Blizzard have a trademark for Hearthstone? Not really. Alright, well, that's been another 30 minutes, and we have 4 victories with the Druid and 2 more victories with the Druid at least here. So if we can get 2 more victories, we'll be done with this, and then I could move on to the Hunter and keep it interesting that way. But I'm also running out of things to talk about, so I don't know how we're going to do this in the next recording. Anyways, if you're watching live, stay tuned. Otherwise, as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.